A wise man once said, there's a big difference between reasons that sound good and good sound reasons. This turnpike sounds terrible, and there's no sound reason for its justification. So you start with this proposition. Somehow the fancy label of Access Oklahoma got tagged onto the project. I call it Appropriate Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, like most places, property rights are cherished. And people move to the country for a specific reason. They want the solitude, they want the separation, they want to get away from this hubbub world that we find ourselves in on a daily basis. It is a lifestyle choice. And people choose it deliberately, and they choose it for good, sound reasons. When this project came to my attention, my wife came screaming into the bedroom and said, there's a picture in the paper that says 8001 Etowah Road is where the new Turnpike Exchange is going to occasion. That just happens to be our address. And that was the very first notice that we had of this project. It's with some degree of trepidation that I come here this morning. 2 years ago, I tried to retire after 55 years of practicing law. I thought maybe it was time for the old horse to go back to the barn, or at least to the pasture. Well, I had a few years left. Then I woke up one morning, February the 23rd, 2022, and it had 8001 East Etowah Road as the proposed route for a massive interchange on this new toll road in Cleveland County. That happens to have been my address for 42 years. That's where my house, my barns, my guest house, and other things are located. It had an impact on me, but not nearly the impact that it had on my wife, who is unfortunately my age. And we thought that the last few years were going to be relatively quiet. But the Turnpike has created a maelstrom of activity. Litigation is expensive. I've been a litigator for all of my career. I know how expensive it is. The people that are impacted didn't have the money to go and pay them like you guys do. So they have to go to the old broken horse and see if he'll carry the ball. And that's exactly what we've been trying to do. We've also given you an opportunity, quite frankly, to put an eraser on your pencil. We ask you not to take this action to pay the money, $42 million that you already paid as of November 30 to a bunch of these people over here, the engineers, the surveyors, the contractors, and all these people that seem to do right well from the construction of turnpikes. Rather than do that, you've doubled down. I just heard what you said when you walked out here today, that you're thinking about an appeal. Well, we're going to have to file another suit, a qui tam lawsuit, against the individuals who make this decision not to repay the money and against the individuals who receive the money. Not something we want to do, but we're being compelled to do it. And once again, we're doing it because everyone that's involved is upset about a process. We were the last people to know of your plan, not the first. When you were going to roll out Access Oklahoma, what did you do? You told the contractors, you told the city officials that you thought would be on your team, and you brought them all aboard. And then the last to know were the people whose properties were going to be taken. We have heard these new words from your publicist. You want to be transparent, and you want to follow due process. Well, I see two lawyers sitting up here, and both of you are very familiar with those two concepts. And in order to have due process, there has to be a notice and an opportunity to be heard before a fair and impartial hearing body. And that's why we came here today, is basically to say, think about this before you act. Give us the opportunity to make our case. Don't foreclose us. Don't shut the door. Hear our side of the story, like Ralph Harvey said, now for the other side of the story. We would like to present our other side of the story using some professional people to tell you why we think that this is not a good project, and it's a project that's only going to create animus, as Mr. Moore said, and more animus for you. I think you're making a huge mistake. You can rectify it. It's not too late. We're holding out the peace pipe, but it looks to me like you broke off the stem this morning. I'm sorry to hear that, but that appears to be the decision that you've made. But I do appreciate the opportunity to address you. And I appreciated the opportunity to meet you, Mr. Chairman. I thought you were a perfect gentleman, and you should be proud of this man because he did conduct himself most appropriately and in the best tradition of your board. Thank you.